YouTube, it's activist or Alex back with a brand new video. So this is gonna be a deeply personal video because look, we're gonna dive straight into it. Because you see, they say your 20s, or at least your early 20s, are supposed to be some of the best years of your life, and that really wasn't the case for me. 2021 and 2022 were anything but that for me. And in this video, we're going to reflect on two of my worst years yet, 2021 and 2022. They were anything but the best years of my life. These 2 years broke me down in ways that I never thought possible, but they also taught me lessons that I'll carry on for the rest of my life. Lessons that molded me into the person I am today and and shaped the values that I carry to this day. My dad's death, which I've covered in one video, to depression, to my uncle's death. I didn't cover that in the video, but we'll expand on that in this. Struggling with fucking finances because inflation caught up and fucked everybody up. We'll get into all that. But before 2021, what was life like? Well, while it wasn't perfect, because of course we had the pandemic that we got thrusted into, I was managing, And I guess a large chunk of that was because I was young, carefree, and hadn't really gotten punched in the gut by life yet. Like, I was living over in LA at the time, having like the time of my life during that moment. Like, I was one of those like sort of irresponsible people who was partying during the pandemic. Like, I would mask and whatnot when I went out, social distance and wash my hands and all that. But like, I would party with my roommates and like people who lived in like the same building as us. We'd party with them too. So like, yeah, I was having parties, but with people who I lived with. So yeah, it was bad, but not as bad as like people who were literally like going to house parties with a bunch of strangers. Like, at least I knew the people who I was partying with and lived in the same building as them. So I would have known if any of them came in contact with COVID. But I digress. Anyway, it was life. I'm over in California making some of the most money I'd ever made in my life at the time, because I even I had an online watch brand at the time that was doing pretty well. And honestly, I attribute a lot of that to the pandemic because people were stuck home. Online shopping was up. The stimulus checks were going out. Unemployment whatnot was going out. You had people doing the PPP scam. So people were spending money that they normally wouldn't have. And yeah, I was benefiting off of that. I was benefiting off of that through my e-commerce business, DoorDash, because I was DoorDashing like crazy around that time. And then February 6th, 2021 hit, and that was the day that my dad died. I did a video going in detail, which you can click here, on what that was like and the story time of that night, because I did some things that night that I am not proud of, but you live and you learn. And that was the night that everything changed, though. But that was the night that everything changed for me, though, because you see, the way that affected me emotionally, mentally, I would even say physically as well, wasn't anything that I would have ever imagined. I felt alone and like abandoned by people who I trusted the most, even though a lot of these people like really wouldn't be able to understand my pain because they didn't lose a parent. To me, it just felt like I was feeling all of my emotions on my own, and that no one had at least had the decency to make sure I was doing okay or anything, or at least like offer their condolences. Like, there was this girl who I was like kind of fucking with at the time. Didn't even like didn't even bother like offering any kind of like words of like condolence or like support, but asked me for a fucking favor. And like, I was in disbelief. I'm like, this is a girl who like wants to have a relationship with me and can't even offer some words of condolences for knowing that I lost my dad. Like, you're viewing my story. Like, I posted on my Snapchat story that night, like, making it pretty obvious that my dad had died. And I'm like, yeah, she had viewed it. Like, and I'm like, you couldn't even offer any words of condolences? Fuck you and fuck everybody else who couldn't. So emotionally that night, I felt alone and isolated and in total disbelief. Like, it felt like I was living a nightmare that I just desperately wanted to wake up from. It changed my worldview and a lot of my relationships because I didn't trust people. Felt like the way I saw it was like everyone cared about no one but themselves and had some kind of ulterior motive, regardless of how nice they were to me. I just felt like no one could be trusted. So I started shutting a lot of people out, which honestly led to alienation from friends and family because I started shutting people out over like the smallest fucking things. Like, if I felt like someone wasn't listening to me when I talked, or like, and it's me feeling this way, like, not like me genuinely able to observe and tell, hey, this person isn't really taking any fucking value in my words or what I'm saying, so I'm not gonna waste my energy interacting with this person. It was like literally just maybe like they're on their phone occupied by something else, but I'm feeling like they could give less of a shit about what I'm saying because it feels dismissive to me. So I would distance myself from them. And a lot of that was also coupled with grief at the time. But that exacerbated feelings of loneliness. Like, I spent a shitload of time in the gym. You look at this picture right here. I'm in like the best shape of my life at this time. I'm like the absolute best shape of my life. Got a physique that some people would dream of. Like, I had people like asking me for tips and how I got to this physique. Had people asking me literally to be their personal trainers. Yet I was depressed in all of these photos, like depressed and lonely as fuck in all these photos, and that alienation from friends and family exacerbated those feelings of loneliness like terribly. And yeah, while I longed for connection because I would try to hang out with my friends at the time. I would try to hang out with my same group of friends at the time. Nothing felt the same. It just didn't feel the fucking same, for one. And two, part of me always just found a reason to pull away and disconnect. I didn't want to trust anyone, so I naturally pushed a lot of people away. And then when I got to college, trade college, by the way, not like university college. I say college because it's a college, just a trade college. Anyway, when I got to college, trade school, when I got to trade college, I didn't really talk to anyone or interact with anyone for like the first like 6 months, unless like they came and talked to me first, because the same thing, I just pushed most people away because I didn't trust people. I didn't like people. I wanted to be left the hell alone, even though I did want that connection. Like, at the same time, deep down, I wanted that connection. Like, I felt alienation in like the sense that I'm speaking of, but also honestly in the Marxian sense of alienation, which separate topic for a separate day, because we're talking about something different in this video. But that is an important part in all of this, because it was an important contributing fact. It was an important contributing factor. It was an important factor in like my struggles at that time. But around the same time when I started college, the Ukraine war started and inflation started to truly get out of control. Like, at that time, I drove this diesel Volkswagen. It was a Volkswagen Jetta I had bought because like the year before, my other car had gotten rear-ended and totaled. And I got this Volkswagen because I was ready to get back in another car, and really didn't just sit and take time to go carless for a bit and stack my money up and buy something better. I just went ahead and got in something like as soon as I could. And diesel went from like 3.49 to like $5 a gallon. $20 was barely making a dent in my tank anymore. Like, my cost of living significantly increased. And I mean significantly increased. I went from being comfortable financially to being like, oh shit. Like, I was like, literally, like, oh shit. And like, I'm panicking because around the same time, two things happen. I get harassed by a state trooper who tried to get me for a DUI, even though I wasn't even drinking or smoking. He was trying to get me for a DUI and try to force me into a confession for something that I wasn't even guilty for. Story for another day, but that was a very stressful situation that impacted me a lot that year. And then like the very next week, I actually got pulled over for speeding, legitimately pulled over for speeding. This one wasn't harassment, but I ended up getting like a $200 speeding ticket. On top of already having to increase gas expense, plus the initial payment on the car, plus insurance, plus just general life expenses that are also increasing with gas, then pressure from college. Like, I had to, like, my daily routine significantly changed within this week, all while all these other things around the world are changing completely out of my control that are impacting my life directly. And I felt stuck. Like, I did not even want to be at trade school. Like, I wanted to leave so bad, but I had fucking scholarships that if I quit, I would have ended up owing money. So I just stuck it out, even though it was one of the most, even though it was grueling. It was fucking grueling. I stuck it out, and I've got a video on that and how that affected me and made me feel. Because there were mornings where I literally wanted to turn around, drive home, and never go back because I had to go to class in a town 43, well, really like 53 miles to the west in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking like phone signal goes in and out in different parts in this town, and honestly barely worked, if I'm going to be honest with you. Me being a gym rat and a healthy eater, there were really no healthy food options for me. It was just fast food and Walmart. So I had to meal prep, but I didn't have time to meal prep. On top of, like, again, my cost of living, along with everyone else's cost of living, drastically increased with inflation. So meal prepping became a lot harder. And I started to rely on shitty fast food more, food that wasn't good for me more, which made me feel worse. It made me feel worse. It made me feel worse physically and mentally. It made me feel a lot worse physically and mentally. And 2021, like, as bad as 2021 was, when it comes to depression, I would say 2021, in a way, was the better year when it came to depression. Despite my dad dying that year, that was the better year when it came to depression because, and honestly, to this day, I'm not sure why. I can't even tell you why. I'm gonna just be honest there. I don't have the answers to all of it because it's stuff that I'm still navigating and unpacking to this day with meditation and introspection. But 2022 was a particular kind of hell that, like, if I could best describe it, it would be like that movie Smile, but if the movie Smile were about, like, depression rather than trauma or schizophrenia. That's literally what it felt like. And 2022. See, this is something I don't want to dance around, but it's like, damn, like, this is some, like, real personal shit that I'm about to get into, but I know it's gonna help somebody out there. I know it's gonna help you. Like, that's why I don't mind getting real candid about this, but there were several times in 2022 where I genuinely considered, like, offing myself, like, flat out taking my own life because life had gotten that bad for me. Things had gotten that unbearable for me. Like, it felt like I was literally living in hell. Like that's literally what it felt like. Even though I had good things going on around me, like yeah, college was somewhat fun. It was starting to get somewhat fun. I have a good relationship with a girlfriend who I'm now married to. But a lot of things are still impacting me. A lot of things from my past before 2021 that I hadn't really like grappled with yet. On top of my dad's death, on top of my brother being in jail at the time, on top of car troubles and financial struggles at the time, I literally even had to like sell my ecom store at a fucking loss because sales had died down that bad. Well, that and also sales had died down so bad because I didn't have any time to really put as much time and effort and energy into it because a lot of that was being taken up by college and I didn't even want to be there. And I knew deep down I didn't even want to be there. But I resisted those feelings against my own wishes. I resisted those feelings, and it was like my mind was punishing me for it. And I genuinely felt like something was wrong with me. Like I didn't know if I would ever be normal again. Like that's literally the way I felt in 2022. That's part of the reasons why like there were times in 2022 where I wanted to kill myself because like I felt like I'd never get back to normal. Like I thought my brain was just gonna be stuck this way. Like I didn't know that all of that was I didn't know that all those feelings I was feeling were rooted in trauma. And that all these back to back traumatic events happening could lead to a form of like PTSD that it's almost like it's almost it's almost disabling. And it is disabling for some people because it gets some people to a point where they can't get out of bed. And here's actually where I wanted to get, where how losing my dad affected me physically. So I do still smoke weed, I'll admit that, but definitely not as much as I did when my dad died, after my dad died, and especially not as much as I did in 2022 because I started smoking significantly more. And when I say significantly more, I'm talking like I was smoking about 4 or 5 blunts a day. Like I would. That's like a quarter. If I don't know if I'm doing my math correctly here. Correct me in the comments if I am. But that's like a quarter a week. That was literally like a quarter of weed a week that I was smoking because like I was mostly wanted to suppress my emotions. But you can only run from your emotions and your feelings for so long before they eventually catch up with you. And at a certain point, you just gotta sit with those feelings. You gotta navigate those feelings. You gotta see where those feelings are coming from. You gotta analyze what's happened to you throughout your life to get you to this point. And this is where there's beauty in rock bottom in a sense, because I would say that 2021 and 2022 were years of rock bottom for me. I mean, I wasn't filming YouTube videos anymore. I was alienated from friends, and I mean, like, I lost my dad, I lost my uncle, my brother went to jail. I lost 2 cars. I lost 2 different cars that I really liked, both of which I really liked. I had to give up my ecom store. I was in college for something that I didn't give a fuck about, that I didn't want to be there for, that impacted me mentally greatly, that impacted me on a great level mentally. Some of the ways that I was best able to cope with all that, especially on days that where it was like the worst, where I just genuinely didn't want to fucking be alive. Like journaling and meditation. I know it sounds cliche as fuck because you hear literally everybody say it, but it's the fucking truth. Being able to sit with your feelings and they don't even have to come out to another person like the way I'm talking to you about it. But being able to sit with those like raw emotions and feelings that put you down in the dumps and make you want to take your own life, and even writing them down on a piece of paper, like those raw feelings. I'm talking like exactly what you're feeling, like to a fucking T. Like if you like if I'm not, I'm talking like not even holding back the way that you feel whatsoever. Just writing exactly how you feel down in a journal, because you're gonna be the only one to read it anyway. So you don't have anything to really hide. With meditating to navigate different things that have happened in your life that may be contributing to the way you feel, to that may contribute to you being depressed or severely anxious, it helps by a long shot. And I mean by fucking long shot. What these experiences taught me though, being in a going to college for something that I didn't give a fuck about taught me that if I could literally spend like 14 months of my life, waste 14 months of my life on something that I don't give a fuck about, I can spend double that time, honestly, a lifetime, on things that I truly care about, on things that truly bring me joy. I don't have to do things that I don't enjoy, because what does that lead me to? That hurts me. That literally fucking hurts me if I do things that I know I don't want to do, but try to do them but try to stick it out anyway, just based off with it, or either ego or trying to impress someone else at the expense of myself. I guess I could say I truly understood the meaning of I truly understood the saying of you've got to do what's best for you. Because had I grasped that, I'd have went ahead and dropped out of that program like within the first 3 months I was in. Because it was within the first 3 months I was there that I knew I didn't want to fucking be there. I also really learned the value of life and how precious life is and how quickly all of this shit can be over no matter how old you are. My dad was only 49 when he died. 49. That's like literally like, I'm terrible at math. That's literally like 24 years older than I am, though. Like, that's insane to think about. That's honestly like some scary shit to fucking think about. Anyway, it's honestly some scary shit to think about. Hell, even one of my friends had gotten like killed over a fucking parking spot. Just sad, real sad. That happened in 2022. I damn near completely forgot about that. But yeah, just those 2 years reminded me how precious life is, and how this shit can easily be like taken away just like that from things completely out of your control, quick and tragic events such as a shooting, or even like unfortunate illnesses such as cancer, which took my uncle. I built a lot of resilience over these years too, because along with the alienation I was feeling, I genuinely felt like I was against the entire world. Like I felt like the entire world hated me in these 2 years. Like so, with that, yeah, developed some angst and like like I said, distrust and hatred towards people, because I felt alienated from society. I felt alienated from my own friends and fucking family in a way. But part of that was due to my own actions from pushing people away. There were people who wanted to develop a relationship with me, whether there was a friendship or rekindling an old friendship that may have fell off due to distance or drifting apart, that I just wasn't interested, because I pushed those people away due to my own mental health at the time. And in retrospect, maybe it was a good thing, because my mental health was so bad at the time, I may have like lashed out at them over something so stupid that would have probably destroyed the friendship anyway. But at the end of the day, there would have been a much better way of going about that. It also honestly taught me the importance of community too, because without community, I honestly would have pulled myself out of this. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, oh yeah, just meditating and journaling for 2 weeks straight in your own room and going outside and running it fixes everything. It's like the cure all. No, All of those things are important, but community is also important. Community, like getting involved with people in your community, meeting new people, like finding like minded people and connecting with those people. And I would honestly say that destroyed the alienation that I felt. Because like throughout that time frame I was like, okay, did I just forget how to fucking socialize, or is something wrong with me? Because I don't I don't like people. I didn't like people. I hated people. I wanted to be left the fuck alone. But it's also taught me resilience, because after losing two cars that I really liked, being forced to walk away from my e-commerce business, and having an overall giant wrench thrown in my lifestyle helped me really develop more gumption to figure it out, manage, and roll with the punches. Not to try to force things, not to take things laying down, but to focus on what I can control in a given situation. Because, man, look, because I was driving myself crazy trying to keep up with rising inflation, even though everything around me was increasing in price. I was trying to keep up with the rising inflation and felt ashamed at like the fact that like I would put $20 in the tank and it literally like go to a quarter of a tank in my car. Like literally like a quarter of a tank full, not even to the half like tank whenever I'd put $20 in. Like I literally would feel ashamed. I also started to appreciate little things in life more. Like I'm talking like literally just like going on a walk in the park and literally appreciate nature. Like appreciating the world around me, appreciating being alive, appreciating breathing, like appreciating small wins and little things in life. Because like I said, this is something that can be taken away like that. Whether it's by like death or permanent disability, it's something that could be taken away like that. Like if my dad lived, he'd have been permanently disabled. That's how bad his stroke was. Had he lived, he'd have been permanently disabled. So like no matter what, his life would have never been the same. His life would have essentially been over either way. And the little things that he may have taken for granted while he was here would be gone just like that. He'd either way have no chance of like truly experiencing those moments the same. It also showed me some strength that I didn't know I had, because when I look back at all this, in 2021, I literally had just moved back here, by the way, and my dad dies. I deal with a stalker, which, story for another day. Uh, Story for another day, video for another day. On top of just coping with that loss throughout that entire year, alienation from friends and family throughout that year that worsened in 2022, financial struggles and car troubles while inflation was getting out of control in this country or around the world, and global events were just getting crazier and adding to the rise in inflation. Because like all of that, I was dealing with all of that pressure, with my brother going to jail too, my friend dying, my uncle dying. Like it almost, this video feels like one big trauma dump, and that's kind of what it is in a way. But I know there are people, I know you relate. I know you watching this video, you relate. That's why I don't mind getting on this mic and just trauma dumping into this for you, because I know you can relate to some of this. That alienation, that feeling of loneliness that makes you angry at the world because you feel like no one gives a fuck, like no one cares. You're a man, you should be able to figure it out on your own. Or you're a man, uh, you should be able to suck it up and just keep moving on. I'm telling you, man, I had that mindset around this time. I literally had that mindset around this same time. And that shit almost killed me. That shit almost led to me taking my own life, because I genuinely felt like no one cared about me. I felt alienated from my friends, family, society, and felt like and walked around with a chip on my shoulder, but at the same time with this like deep sadness inside of me because I just wanted someone to just notice that I was fucked up and tell me that everything will be okay. But at the same time, I push people away who may have been trying to do that. But I was dealing with all this while being a full time college student. And yeah, people in my class knew something was up. There were people in my class that 100% knew something was up. They gave me my space until I was ready. And for those people, I'm thankful for. And it's those people who I'm not entirely regretful of going to trade school for because that played some role in me at least knowing that there was light at the end of the tunnel and that people did give a shit. Because coming by the end of my time there, I started to I started to come out of all of this. Like by the time I was graduating, so 2023, I started to come out of this. Now, it was a bumpy ride as well, because the beginning of 2023 was not fun. A video for another day. But the beginning of 2023 was not fun at all. However, that was the year that I emerged from this. And I emerged from this grateful that I was at least starting to feel normal again. Because for a while I thought something was wrong with me and that I was just fucked up and couldn't be fixed. I thought I was just fucked up and like maybe I don't know. I thought I'd like smoked too much fucking weed and fried my brain. But even the more I thought of that, the more I thought of that, the less it made sense. And looking back now, I'm realizing that I was having a completely normal response to a series of traumatic events that had happened to me, and I'm talking even events before 2021. Like, damn, this finna be one of them long videos, bro. I can already tell. I didn't even intend for this to be this long, dog. This is gonna be one of those long videos. Fuck it. This is gonna be an unedited video. I'll tell you that right now. This is gonna be one of those unedited videos where I literally just like post it just the way it is right now. Anyway, the trauma that I experienced before 2021, like my mom was married to a shitty guy, very shitty guy, who like would pick fights with literally everyone in the house. Literally me, her, my older brother, and my oldest brother, if he was around too. He would pick fights or talk shit about us with us around, like in earshot of us, to try to get a rise out of us and pick fights with us. I've beat this guy's ass twice. I dealt with that shit from like middle school all the way throughout the end of high school. And I literally remember losing sleep some nights because I would stay awake if I heard them arguing just in case he put his hands on her because I wanted to be ready on go to march in there. And I'm talking like I was like doing this at the age of 15. I would literally like sleep with a fucking knife under my bed just in case I heard him like beating on her in the middle of the night, which like never happened. But until like what, I was 18. Then, yeah, that was the time when I fucking beat his ass. That was the first time I beat his ass, when he put his hands on my mom, and that was the first time I'd ever seen it. But betrayal and old friendships and relationships, I would say all of that culminated with the events of 2021 and 2022, and honestly sent me to fucking crazy town for a year. And for honestly like 2 years, shit sent me to fucking crazy town. I was unpacking so much and I didn't even fucking realize it. Some stuff that I think you should really take away from this. Have some self-compassion. Allow yourself to feel sorry for yourself. Fuck that quote that says stop feeling sorry for yourself. No, allow yourself to feel sorry for yourself. There are times where you need to have some self-compassion and feel sorry for yourself because that is a valid those are valid feelings. More than just like extreme examples, like if you lose a loved one, a friend dies, or you feel suicidal. I'm talking even if you're struggling like financially because things happening way outside of your control are taking away your buying power. Like it's happened to most people around the country, around the world even, where greedflation and inflation have eaten up a lot of people's buying power. People are angry, upset, rightfully so. Allow yourself to feel some self compassion for that if that describes you. Definitely reach out for help for people if you need it. Like, reach out to people that you trust. Have community. Do not shut people out. Don't make the mistake I did. Like, do not make the mistake I did. Don't shut people out because, believe it or not, men, young men watching this video, believe it or not, there are people out there who care about you. There are people out there who will listen to you. There are people out there who will empathize with you. You just gotta not push them away. You need to have community, because if you don't have community and you already have these thoughts and these feelings that no one gives a shit about men, that men are just forced to deal with everything on their own, and men are just alone, and it's a man's job to suck it up and keep moving, and you don't need anyone, I promise you, that is going to destroy you. That mindset is going to destroy you. You gotta get rid of that mindset because you need community. Find community. Find joy in little things. Even during hard times, find the joy in little things. Honestly, that's part of why I started like going on like jogs or runs first thing in the morning. Usually with like some music, which you don't have to play music. Look, when I say music, I don't mean like heavy metal like I would work out to. I'm talking like video game OST. I will literally like walk around or jog listening to Fallout OST. Literally try that and just be in the moment and observe your surroundings and appreciate your surroundings. Like if you're jogging through the city, like you live in a city and you're jogging through the city, take a moment to take in what your city looks like, what it feels like, and enjoy the little things you see. You live in a small town, take a moment to take in what your town looks like, take in the beauty of your town. Like, I'm realizing how beautiful the state of Tennessee is. This is a state I hated for a long time, and even through this, like, I've grown to love this state because I started to really appreciate the little things about this state. And yeah, Tennessee's a very beautiful state. Like, very beautiful state. Outside of little things like that, enjoy little things like with your family. Enjoy time, like I'm talking little things like time with your family or time with your significant other. Like, I love going to local events like First Friday. There's a local event called First Friday where I live at that I love going to with my girlfriend at the time, but now wife. And those are some little things that I remember from that time that gave me an immense amount of joy. Little things that I literally looked forward to every month, even though there were literally days where I would literally go to bed at night and wish that I didn't wake up. Like, though, find joy in those little things, no matter how hard it is. It makes a bigger difference than you would think. So there's a quote that says, it goes like, sometimes rock bottom is the solid foundation that you need to build a new life. It's one of those things that I say I couldn't agree more, because out of this, I became a better person. I became someone who values life more, who values other people more, who actually wants to help other people more, who wants to help people who may be in worse predicaments than I was, whether it's financially, mentally. It made me develop a certain kind of love and understanding for my fellow human that I don't think was there before. If I'm going to be honest, like, I don't think was really there before all this. And it makes me seize every single moment almost like it's my last, because you truly never know when that will be. And In this life, the best thing you can do is truly live every single day like it's gonna be your last, and seize every moment and cherish every moment. Seize every opportunity. Cherish every moment. Seize every good opportunity that's before you. Do positive things and make positive impacts on people, because people will remember that shit. They will. I remember the people who complimented me on my worst days. Like something as simple as, I like your shirt. Something as simple as, you got some nice boots. Something as simple as even like complimenting my fucking car. Like, even though I didn't give a fuck about who I impressed with that car. Like, it was a fucking Jetta. I didn't give a fuck about who I impressed with that shit. But still, like, the little things like that go a long way, even on the worst days. I'm eager to hear your story. Drop them in the comments. Tell me how you can relate to this, or tell me how you can relate to this, whether it's past or present, in the comment section down below, because you never know who your story could uplift and inspire. Like, before I end this video off, I want to say that something I used to do when I was like, whenever I get like severely depressed, I'd go on YouTube and I'd watch core videos, or like those like depressed like compilations, or like I'd listen to fucking Biggie Smalls' Suicidal Thoughts, like damn near on repeat. Like, I'd listen to a lot of songs like that, but especially that one. And I'd scroll through the comments and I would see just how many people related to the way that I was feeling at the time. Some people felt worse, some people felt the same. Like, but all in all, there were so many people in those comment sections who felt so depressed that they wanted to take their own lives. So I want to see the opposite in this comment section. If you're someone who is dealing with depression now, comment your story. And someone who has made it through this, comment your story in response to them, because you really never know who you could inspire. You never know you never know how your story could give someone else some hope and be the thing that pushes them to keep going even though they want to give up. Because it literally was not that long. It literally was not that long ago when I was in those same shoes, where I felt like the world shat on me and no one cared about me, and that I was just an outcast from society, my own friends and family, and wanted to take the same way out too. But I'm happy to say that I didn't do it, and now I've got a wife and a 8-month-old son to be proud of. So yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Be great. Be great. Make a positive impact in the world. Do something positive for somebody. Keep your heads up out there. I'll see y'all in the next video. Deuces.